Network, a weekly audio safari that features the newest in paranormal discoveries while highlighting the latest and not to be missed TruthFunder.com projects. For truth seekers and true believers, this week's Truth Funders starts now.
Greetings, bonjour, hola, welcome, hello. This is the Truth Funders Radio Show on the Inception Radio Network. My name is Art Webb. I am your host for this weekly look at TruthFunders.com and everything that is paranormal, metaphysical, universal, and essentially good. It is about the light. Here on IRN, I am always joined by the CEO of TruthFunders.com. His name is Mark Schwartz. Mark, what's going on, my friend? How are you doing this week?
I'm doing great.
You've been getting quite a bit of emails lately.
Yeah, and I just want to give a shout out to everyone. Thank you guys so much for your letters. They're so great, and we appreciate the feedback. So really quickly, I want to give a shout out to Christina Henry. Thank you so much. You're on the other side of the country, and we really appreciate. You're on the other side of the world, and we really appreciate getting your letter. Who else is out there? I want to thank. There's another Art that sent us an email. Mallory, thank you so much. John. We really appreciate all the feedback, and your answer is yes. Tiffany, you are just so sweet. Thank you for saying those kind words. And then for Timmy, we will do another. I'm going to start that again. And then for Timmy, we're going to go ahead and do another remote viewing exercise a little later today. I just watched RoboCop before I joined you today.
The new one? I watched it a couple weeks ago myself.
Actually, the old one.
Oh, I saw the new one.
I want to watch the new one again.
I really liked the new one. I had read some mixed reviews on it, so I was
Sacrilege.
I was kind of on the fence about watching it, and then I saw it was on Netflix, and I was not really doing anything, and I said, well, you know what, I'm going to check this out, and then I ended up getting totally sucked into it. I liked it a lot. I liked the comments that it was making on like a lot of the stuff going on today with artificial technology and stuff like that.
Yeah, you know what I felt like though? One of the reasons why I love the original RoboCop 1 and RoboCop 2 is because it's the commentary they have about society and all of the TV and the commercials that they have. Like, they have a commercial called for this board game called Nukem, and it's kind of like a battleship thing, but it's doing nuclear war on like Palestine and all these different countries, and it was crazy, and it just kind of showed the state that we were in at that point in time, and kind of the way media sensationalizes everything. And so I thought that was really cool, and I love that. And I felt that the new one, though it was really cool with action, I felt that it kind of lost a little bit of that sensationalism that kind of was an over-the-top point driven home in the original ones.
This is coming from a person who's never seen RoboCop 1 and 2, by the way, so I don't really have that much room to comment.
Kidding, dude?
No, I've never seen it.
Oh my god, you have to watch it. You have to, okay, after the show today, go ahead and watch the first one and the second one. You have to tell me which one you like better next week, because, like, those movies changed my life.
Wow.
Well, they didn't change my life, but they're just freaking awesome, man.
They had quite the impact on a young Mark Schwartz when you saw them.
Yeah, totally. The violence freaked me out because it was so violent when I was younger and I watched it, and now it still kind of freaks me out. It's just really creepy, like that evilness can exist. Creepy.
Interesting. By the way, you are listening to Truth Funders Radio on the Inception Radio Network. Mark, we have an announcement to make about the website at truthfunders.com. Something kind of monumental happened since the last show, and I think that you should be the one with the honors to go ahead and let everyone know about this milestone that truthfunders.com recently reached.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for that, Art. I wanted to give just a standing ovation, a big round of applause to Spaceboy. For those of you who don't know who Spaceboy is...
He's been in the chat room recently, too, by the way, for the show here on IRN.
Absolutely, and he might be in there today as well. So Spaceboy, he creates the intro music for a lot of different shows. There's Future Theater with Bill and Nancy Burns, and he has created the intro for their show, all the music. He's also created the intro for Jimmy Church and Fade to Black. And his stuff is just amazing, just really cool music. And I know that we've talked about him before on the show, but he decided to just do something totally random, and he wrote to me. We had some dialogue back and forth via Twitter, and he said that he loved the idea of Truth Funders, the fact that we are this crowdfunding community, that people can create their own projects, put them up on our site, and if they love the paranormal and love the community and want to seek the truth, whether it's ghosts, UFOs, their own music, their own artwork, anything that has to do with the paranormal.
Especially that actually is a good time to mention today's guest that we'll have on the show here in just a little bit, because it's not all the standard assumed paranormal type things. There's also fringe, kind of weird out there that you wouldn't normally think of as paranormal, but definitely fall into the category. Laurent Martini and his Wednesday morning at 5 o'clock documentary that he's going to be making about the Beatles and Paul McCartney actually being dead. We're going to talk to him a little bit later on in the show, but that kind of falls in those same lines.
Absolutely. So what's really great is that, Spaceboy, he's created all this music, and he came to us and said, I want to help you. I want to create a song just for Truth Funders. I want to put it up on your website and create a project. Now, he receives all the proceeds. He just wanted to create a project and put it up on Truth Funders, and we really encourage anybody that's making any artwork out there, if it has to do with the paranormal, go ahead and bring your project to our site, because what happens is people like you in the listening audience go out and donate to the project. You get something really cool in return. It's not just a pure donation. I mean, there's people selling hats. There's people, you get
T-shirts, the
DVDs,
ghost T-shirt, the ghost
autograph stuff.
Right.
There's just all sorts of rewards for donating. So a lot of people donated $5 to his project, and what they received was a brand new song called Truth Funders. And he created this. It's really cool too. I jammed to it.
Well, here, I got the song right here. Let's play a little bit of it for people to hear.
Yeah, go ahead and play it. So right now we're listening to Spaceboy's Truth Funders song, and yeah, he went ahead and put it up. He was trying to raise $500 for creating the song, and people donated to him, and it was just so awesome. The community came out, they reached out, they donated to his project, and as of last week, I think it was Thursday, we hit our mark, and he received all the money. I think he went over a little bit. He had $505 he wound up raising. Truth Funders, we don't really get anything. We're just kind of more of a service that goes up there. We get a very small percent, but it's almost nothing. And I just want to be truthful and put that out there. I think it's 5% of the entire project. But what we do is we help you build the project, conceptualize all the stuff, put it out there. We help market it. We talk about it on our radio show. So all of that, for practically nothing, because we just really want to get the stuff out there to everybody, and I'm so passionate about that. Anybody with the mindset of, I have an idea, I want to make this idea happen, please reach out to us, because we want to make your idea happen too. So I just want to say congratulations to Spaceboy. It is so awesome. You were the first person to have a project on our site that's been complete, that's totally filled up. And we started Truth Funders. The website went live January 1st. So we've been around for 2.5 months, and we already have our first project that's fully funded, and that's thanks to everybody out there.
I think that's press release worthy, honestly. I mean, if there's anything, this should be a press release. This should go out. This is Truth Funders history happening right now. And I'm sure that there might be, I'm not even going to say might. I'm sure that there are people listening on IRN to the show right now that actually did donate to that campaign. So thank you to the IRN listeners as well.
Absolutely. And if there's people listening to the show that are, bloggers or work for any sort of newspaper or radio show, and you want to interview us or talk about this stuff, you want to break the story, we would love to talk to you. So please, please, please contact us, and we can tell you all about Truth Funders and how it works and how people like yourselves can create a project, crowdfund it, and have people donate to their project and make it happen. I mean, we really, really want to spread paranormal out there. and let people know how real this stuff is, and show that we can make a difference. It's fantastic, and I'm just so excited, and I'm so proud of Spaceboy for achieving his goal. And it just goes to show that if you have an idea, you can make it happen.
And these don't
have to do it.
Sorry, and these don't have to be like brand new ideas either. I mean, these can be ideas that you've been sitting on for years that you've just never really acted on. For example, Laurent, who we'll be talking again a little bit later on in the show, he's been working on this documentary for 20 years. 20 years now. He's been trying to get this thing up and running and off the ground and completed, and he's not stopping, and he sees something like TruthFunders, and he jumps immediately on it, and it's now helping his dream get realized as well. So these don't have to be, something that you came up with last night. I mean, think about it in the recesses of your mind. Is there something years ago that you had a thought on that you went, oh man, that would be really cool, and you didn't have any type of, wherewithal or means to get it done? Now you can.
Absolutely, and we're going to help you along the way. So I just really want to say congratulations to Spaceboy. I think we're just so proud of you. We're so excited, and it's monumental. And we are you were talking about media a little bit. We are going to be in a few things. We're working right now. We're trying to create a deal with the Huffington Post to be bloggers for them once a month and talk about the latest stuff in paranormal technology. We are also currently working with Wired. We have an article that will be coming out within the next 2 months. Hopefully it's the end of April the Wired article comes out.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, we're starting to really make some waves. So it's exciting. And all the people that are listening right now, you guys are the first. You're the first people to listen to us and know about this before it blows up. So if you want to be a part of it, if you have questions for us, if you want to contact us and just write about us in your blog, we're so open to all of that. We'd love to talk to you. You know
what I'm open to now that I'm thinking about it? We should create an ongoing Truth Funders campaign to fund this podcast as well.
Yeah,
or maybe like a tip jar or donation jar, because just so everyone knows, listening, full transparency here, Mark and I are not paid to do this radio show. We do it for the love of Truth Funders, and it is something that we feel passionately about, and we take time out of our busy weeks every week to come in here and put on a good show for you and talk about this stuff and do interviews that we hope are engaging and turn you on to something that you might not be aware of originally or prior to that. And it's just another reason I think that Truth Funders is coming from the right place in terms of what we're looking to accomplish. We're not looking to make money. I mean, yes, we're looking to make money, but we're more so looking to spread truth around. So maybe like a donation jar or a tip jar or something like that for the podcast where you and I could, collect a little bit of scratch each week. That might not be a bad idea.
Right. And I have to say, I mean, there's nothing wrong with making money. There truly isn't. I mean, it's
it provides security,
tool, right?
Yeah, stability.
We have to do it. I was just talking to Art before we started the show today. Taxes are due. I'm going to my tax guy today. I got so screwed last year with taxes. I was put in a really big hole. I am digging my way out, and it's hard. We live in a time where everything looks good on the outside. But if you live in America, it's really hard to make money. It's really, I pull 3 jobs. I have a full-time job and 2 part-time jobs. And I work really hard at all this stuff. I'm working like 12 to 15 hours a day.
I have 4 jobs, right? If you count this one, I have like 4 jobs at the moment.
And, we work so hard here in America to just get by. And it's their way of keeping us down. I really feel like that.
Corporate slavery, man. Corporation. It's true, but you're absolutely right. It's true.
It is, and that's another reason why I love RoboCop, because it's all about anti-corporation stuff. And that's what we hope to give and provide with Truth Funders is, a lot of people don't have the money and resources in order to make their idea happen, or they have this great idea, they just don't have the funds to do it. And so, they will create something here in hopes to gain those funds and work on something that they love and something that they're passionate about.
And be able to make money through doing something that they love. Because, yes, ultimately for you, the user at Truth Funders or the listener, it is about making money and providing a nice life for yourself that is full of fulfillment and happiness. And you're right. There is nothing wrong with making money, but I think there is something wrong with trying to trick people and taking their money. And I think that's the distinction that I'm trying to create here.
Absolutely. And I couldn't agree more. I think that we have to deal with money. I mean, this is the United States, and we're stuck with it. I wish we could run away. Some people can, and some people are working really hard. They're creating their own gardens. I have a friend who he has all sorts of like canned goods just in case the zombie apocalypse ever happens.
Doomsday
He has
prepper.
animals.
Yep.
He's got chickens. He's got rabbits. He's got an entire backyard full of like veggies and crops. He's got tons of guns. He's got all sorts of stuff ready for that day, and that's in some ways really admirable. But it's like, man, we shouldn't have to live like some of us are living, which is you're working.
It's a
so
growing
hard all
amount
the
of
time.
us too. Sorry to interrupt you, but it's a growing amount of us that are living that way because the middle class is becoming more and more diminished as the years are going by. It's becoming much more of a haves versus have-nots situation, and I think a lot of that has to do with the irresponsibility. No offense, but to our parents' generation and the overall sense of non-big picture thinking that I've seen. Decision-making wise, time and time again, it's about short-term gains and outperforming each and every quarter, and it's just not setting up the future generations of the United States for anything good,
Yeah, I just couldn't agree with you more, and also I blame it on the hippies.
Damn
I'm just
hippies.
kidding.
And their marijuana. That marijuana is going to be the thing that saves the United States once it goes fully legal. You see how much money they're making in Colorado on taxes alone? It's insane.
No, I haven't. Tell me about it.
What is the number? I swear to God, they just deemed Colorado the new Silicon Valley based on the amount of money that is coming in such a short amount of time. It's a bubble due to the amount that. Hold on, let me look it up real quick. I think it's somewhere in the neighborhood of like $100 million or something crazy like that. Let's see. Colorado weed tax gains. 76 million in marijuana taxes for 2014.
Wow.
Just on legalizing pot alone, and crime has gone down in the city of Denver since they've done so. So, that might be the thing right there. Maybe we should look into opening up our own marijuana chain or something.
A paranormal marijuana dispensary.
Paranormal marijuana dispensary, owned and operated by TruthFunders.
I don't smoke weed, but I think that's a great idea. A paranormal weed dispensary.
It is a great idea because you could sell the weed and then you could get people to hang out and talk about all of the stuff that stereotypically a lot of these weed smokers like to talk about: aliens, UFOs, ghosts.
Well, I think there's something about mind expansion, and I think that people
Oh,
who
you're right. Yes.
do experiment and play around with things here and there, I think that they are open to more things and more ideas and maybe more paranormal ideas, because your average person there, I think they just did a poll where 50% of people, or over 50% of people, believe in aliens and believe that we're not alone.
I think it was like 70%, or it was crazy. It was a very high number.
Yeah, we should figure that out, because I don't want to be throwing out random numbers for the public. But there's something to be saying for open ideas, and that's why I think they have a lot of posters. Have you ever been, in college towns? You go to a shop and they have posters you can hang on your wall, and there's like those aliens there that say "Take me to your dealer."
Hell yeah.
I think they kind of go together a little bit. There's a little bit of that, the paranormal and super sensory drug intake. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting off topic.
I don't think so entirely. By the way, it's I just saw the number. I lost it. Damn it. It's a lot. It's 80. It's almost 80%.
Wow, that believe in aliens. That
Yep.
believe that aliens exist.
Yeah.
See, that's the world that we're living in today, people. And if you're listening to this, you know it. And if you're listening to this, it's because you believe. I wonder if there's any skeptics out there that listen to the show just to be skeptical.
Do you think in 2015 the X-Files is getting a revival because people don't believe? That's a huge story that came out this week too that we should probably touch on. The X-Files is getting picked up for a whole new 6-episode season on Fox.
Yeah, but okay, I have an issue with that.
Oh, what is your issue? How could you not be excited about that?
Okay, because when the X-Files first came out, Mulder was the crazy guy who nobody believed anything he said, and he was like the one guy against the world. because nobody believed in aliens. But you have to look at it in the context of 2015. I mean, here in 2015, 80% of people believe that aliens exist, and people are way more open to this stuff than ever before, right? The paranormal, there's all these paranormal ghost hunting shows. There's all these there's so much stuff that's out there that's on TV. There's the Bigfoot TV shows. There's the cryptozoology shows. So in today's day and age, I don't think people would look at Mulder as being crazy. I think more people would believe him. So I don't know if they'll make it where, the world is against him again. I don't think that would fit in today's paradigm.
I think that Chris Carter and David Duchovny and everybody behind that show is smart enough to realize that it's also not 1995 and that they have a brand new paradigm to deal with in terms of this subject matter, and I think they'll do it right. I think they wouldn't be doing it if they didn't know what they were doing, or at least have a very solid idea on how to approach this type of subject matter in this day and age, because you're right, it is a night and day difference in terms of discussion. I mean, the X-Files was such a huge phenomenon because there was nothing really like it before that. The only thing you were going to be able to find out there was Coast to Coast, honestly, and it really propelled that type of discussion into the mainstream in such a way that it had never before been.
Yeah, and you know what would be cool? If they had some sort of storyline where some ghost hunters, like some horrible ghost hunters, because everybody knows that if you're hunting ghosts, a lot of these shows, they either make it fake or they don't know necessarily what they're doing.
It's sensationalized, right?
They're bringing stuff back with them. So maybe something happens with sort of that medium, and the X-Files explores what happens with a bunch of these TV shows, and kind of there's some sort of entertainment vibe where they go from show to show to show, and it's all connected somehow.
Did you see the film that came out a few years ago, the second X-Files movie, I Want to Believe, the one that was not good, at all? It was terrible.
Which one was that?
They just put out a film. Exhibit was in it. It was the second X-Files movie. It came out in 2012 or 2011 or something like that.
Yeah, I think I saw that.
It was terrible. It was terrible, but it didn't deal with any of the conspiracy alien UFO things. It was much more of a standalone type of episode. And from what I'm reading, this new season, or whatever you want to call it, is going to be 100% focused back on the alien conspiracy type stuff. So, I'm interested in it. I can't wait.
Yeah. Well, I'll definitely take a gander. Hey, for everyone who's listening out there, if you have a cool idea, or if you think you know what's going to happen with the X-Files series, go ahead and send me an email at mark@truthfunders.com. That's MARK@truthfunders.com, and let me know what you think is going to happen with the new X-Files. We'll read it next week at the beginning of the show.
You can do that, or you can actually, as well, just to add, you can use Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram to comment if you're more comfortable. I find some people to feel that email is a little too invasive for them the first time when writing. They feel a little more comfortable interacting with the social media account. I don't know why. I mean, we're very friendly people. If you send an email, we're going to write you back. We're going to be nice. We're not going to bite. But if you feel more comfortable using social media, Truth Funders is on Twitter and Facebook as well.
And also, for those who were listening last week, I never let you know what I was holding in my hand. We said we would talk about it after the break.
Oh, I'm glad you remembered that. Yeah, what was it you were holding in your hand?
So I was holding something in my hand. We were trying to do a little test to see if you could remote view what I was holding in my hand. So,
I remember one person in the chat room over at IRN did say coffee mug. Was that right?
That was close, but not quite. I was holding a glass cup.
It was a glass cup, but that's pretty close.
That's pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty close.
They remote viewed that you were holding a cylinder in your hand, at least.
Okay, so right now I'm holding something else in my hand, and I want everybody to sit back and think about what it is. I want us to be quiet for 10 seconds. I'm going to focus really hard on what I'm holding, and I'll let you know on Facebook later today after the show. I will send a picture of what I'm holding in my hands.
Ooh, a picture is good.
But I'm focusing right now. What do you think it is, Art?
Hold on, let's take 10 seconds of silence here, and I'll try and connect into your consciousness.
Focus.
Is it an office supply?
It's interesting that you say that, but no, it's not. And I'll leave it like that. and then I'll put the picture of what it is after the show today on our Facebook. You can go to facebook.com and just type in Truth Funders. Go ahead and like our page, and you'll see the photo of what it is I am holding in my hand. Let's see if you have remote viewing powers.
I think that there are definitely going to be a few that do. I've never been so good with the remote viewing. I just don't know how to click into that part of myself. The astral projection, on the other hand, I have a feeling I do that every single night, but that's a conversation for a different time. Hey, we've got an interview to play here in about 3 or 4 minutes. The clock tells me we're going to take a break and come back with Laurent, but why don't you talk about Laurent's project a little bit before we get him on the phone?
Sure. So Laurent's project, for everyone who's listening right now, you can go to www.truthfunders.com, scroll down, and it's our main page that we're focusing on. It's a really, really cool project. It's about the Beatles, and I'm a huge Beatles fan. They were what got me into music.
You want to talk about like having weird geek stuff all around? Like you always talk about the things that you're sitting around, your knickknacks in your apartment and your office. I have so many Beatles memorabilia things surrounding me right now. I probably couldn't count them all. That's how big of a nut I am.
Will you take a picture? I want to see it. We'll put it on Facebook too.
Yeah, I'll make a collage of all of my Beatles memorabilia crap hanging around my house, and I'll put that up.
Awesome. Yeah. So his theory, and you might have heard this before. It's that Paul McCartney is dead, and that he died early on in the Beatles' career during the
1964
Sgt. Pepper days.
Yep.
And that he was replaced by another person. And there's all sorts of crazy news articles that actually came out about the story. And so what Laurent has done is he's gone in and not only researched the clues that are already available to the public, but he's gone deeper. He's been researching this for 20 years, and he's come up with some pretty amazing clues. You can see some of those clues if you click on the Truth Funders project and take a look. You can see the actual pictures that he has up, which I recommend people looking at those photos while Art has the interview. I have to jump off. I won't be a part of the interview today. But
you got to go do taxes. You got to get out there and get your U.S. government bill paid, or hopefully you'll get some money back this year.
But this is a really, really exciting project.
And it's the type of project that I think should be highlighted. That it doesn't have to. When people mention paranormal, I think a lot of immediate reactions are aliens, UFOs, ghosts, things like that. This is the type of project that is outside those traditional lines, and I would love to see more projects like this, honestly, on Truth Funders that aren't necessarily the expected types of projects, but definitely fall into the paranormal, because this story is absolutely a paranormal story.
Oh, without a doubt. It's a conspiracy, and that's something that we're into too. Ed Opperman has a project on Truth Funders, and what he's trying to do is look at things like the assassination of John Lennon. There's a whole bunch of different projects that he's working on. He's trying to raise money so that he can make these documentaries. And if anybody doesn't know who Ed Opperman is out there, he was the digital forensic artist for the Tiger Woods infidelity scandal,
oh, wow.
Also the Ashton Kutcher infidelity scandal. He's been on Coast to Coast. He's been on all sorts of shows, and I think we're going to have him on next week.
I was going to say we should have him on immediately.
Yeah, his stuff is fantastic. But you got to check out this interview, because if you're a Beatles fan, you can't miss this. It's just really fun. It's really exciting. It's a really good conversation piece to have with people, and there's going to be some clues released to Paul's death for you to decide for yourself. Did he die or didn't he? Either way,
we should take a poll. Talk about other things we can do interaction-wise with the listener base here on IRN to the Truth Funders radio show. We should take a poll on Facebook as well and see how many people believe Paul is actually dead versus the guy that is out there today playing and making all this money is a fake Paul McCartney.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and do that. So I'll go ahead and set that up too when I get back from the tax man. And
hey, by the way, what is the lead track on the Revolver record? The last record that Paul supposedly recorded on before he died. Song number 1 is
"I'm the Tax Man."
Bingo.
Yeah, I won't sing, but hey, I love that song. It's true.
George Harrison. It's a great song.
It all comes full circle, right? Hey, thank you guys so much. Art, take it away, man. Have a great rest of the show. Tell Laurent I said hi, and I will be listening off air.
Mark Schwartz, everyone. Mark, thank you so much. I can't wait to be back on with you next week. My name is Art Webb. You're listening to TruthFunders Radio. I will be right back with Laurent Martini right after these messages on the Inception Radio Network.
TruthFunders Radio on the Inception Radio Network.
Hello, Inception Radio Network listeners. This is Amanda. Remember, you can take your Inception Radio shows on the go. Just download the Inception Radio Network app for your iPhone, iPad, or Android smartphones and access live shows, past shows, guest lineups, and much more. Just visit the iTunes Store or the Google Play Marketplace and download it today for free.
Don't have a computer? Is your internet connection down? Don't worry. Use your trusty cell phone or landline and call into our listen line at 401-283-6700 to listen to the Inception Radio Network 24/7. Again, that call-in number is 401-283-6700. For the Inception Radio Network, I am MJ.
Hi, can you hear my voice? Imagine how many other people can hear it too. If you have advertising needs, then look no further. The Inception Radio Network currently has openings for on-air advertisements and radio show sponsorships. Given any thought to your target demographic? Inception has you covered there too. Advertising on a network gives you multiple opportunities to advertise on a wide variety of radio show broadcasts, and we have one to fit every advertising need. You know, in recent years, internet radio has exhibited a phenomenal listener growth. An Arbitron Edison survey shows that online radio boosts at least 33 million unique visitors each week and 54 million each month. And that number amazingly continues to grow. And these listeners are a part of many businesses' core demographics. And surveys have shown that internet radio listeners are far more likely than regular radio listeners to spend money on a whole range of activities. You know, internet listeners vote, they dine out and eat fast food, and they grab a cup of coffee. And here's the interesting one. They buy items online at a much higher rate than all other market segments combined. Internet radio also enables businesses to connect with consumers during work hours, where increasingly more lifestyle decisions are being made. Advertise with the best. The Inception Radio Network offers competitive advertising rates to fit just about anyone's advertising budget. Stop by today at www.inceptionradionetwork.com or call us toll-free at 1-888-919-2355. Get the word out. Get results with the Inception Radio Network.
Hello, everyone. Lorian Fenton here, host of the California MUFON radio show, asking if you'd like special access to exclusive and amazing information about UFOs, the paranormal, and all things unexplained. If you're nodding yes, then join IRN's Insider Club. As an Insider Club member, you'll get an all-access pass to premier Inception Radio Network content for only $4.99 a month. This includes live UFO and paranormal conferences, live streaming UFO skywatches, exclusive IRN radio and TV productions, and of course, paying radio with MJ and Ken Storch. So don't wait any longer. Visit InceptionRadioNetwork.com and click on Member Login to join IRN's Insider Club and get your VIP access today.
TruthFunders Radio on the Inception Radio Network.
All right, welcome back to TruthFunders Radio here live on IRN. 888-919-2355 is the telephone number if you would like to call the show. 888-919-2355. Also, follow TruthFunders on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You can do the math. Just go to any one of those websites, search TruthFunders, and help do your part in spreading the word to help grow. I'm very excited about this week's guest that I want to get to right now. He is a filmmaker, and he has been working on a documentary for the last almost 20 years, since 1999, and it's focused on a story that is very fascinating to me, and you may or may not be familiar with the material that he is covering in his documentary. But if you're a fan of rock music, pop culture, or anything that is Beatles, you're going to want to stay tuned. This is all about urban legends in the rock and roll world. And there are, like, tons of rock urban legends. I mean, there was the rumor going around that Jack White and Meg White were siblings for years. Keith Richards, apparently he undergoes blood transfusions to stay healthy. People screaming about Elvis being alive, Jim Morrison being alive. If you're not familiar with the Led Zeppelin and the Shark story, that's one I'm not even going to get into, even though I would love to, but it's probably a little bit inappropriate. Go and look that sucker up if you've never heard of it. And, of course, there's always the rumor that Creed was a good band, which I think is still just not true if you get down to it. But the number one controversial urban legend in rock and roll history is that of the Beatles and Paul McCartney being dead and having been replaced by a lookalike sometime after, I think it was the Revolver record, in between recording Revolver and Sgt. Pepper's. We have Laurent Martini on. So you have a project up on TruthFunders, and your project is a perfect project for TruthFunders because it is all about sussing out the truth. And it's a project that some of our listeners might be familiar with the concept in terms of what you're approaching here, and some of them might not be. Why don't you give us a quick rundown as to what it is you want to make this documentary about?
Of course. The project is called Wednesday Morning at 5 o'clock, and it is based on the Beatles' death clues, which are clues that the Beatles put in their music, songs, album, movies, even in their solo career, that point to the fact that Paul McCartney died decapitated in a car accident November 9th, 1966, and has been replaced by a look-alike named Billy Shears or William Campbell ever since.
For those listeners that have never heard of this story before, it got to be pretty shocking because Paul McCartney is Paul McCartney. He's probably the single greatest musician of all time. I want to know more along the lines of where the whole controversy behind this even being a possible situation came from. Like, what's the story behind this?
So the first clue, or the first talk of these clues, happened on a radio show in 1969 where somebody called up DJ Russ Gibb in Detroit and told him that if he listened to certain songs and listened to them backwards of the Beatles, he would hear clues that would basically give him the idea that Paul McCartney had died in a car accident and had been replaced. This story was heard by Fred Labor, who was hired to write a review of Abbey Road. This was when Abbey Road was coming out. And as he looked at the albums and listened to the songs, he found more and more clues and wrote an article for the Michigan Daily News. And the story really picked up from there. It picked up so far that Time magazine did a cover story on it, and that F. Lee Bailey was hired to do a mock trial on RKO channel in New York, November 30th, 1969, to do a mock trial to talk about the clues and to discuss whether Paul McCartney was indeed alive or dead. So this is not a small story. It was a national story and has continued to be since then.
What are some of the clues that pointed to McCartney was actually dead and, in fact, he had been replaced by somebody else?
Well, there are hundreds of clues, so it's hard to really pick just one. If I would pick only one that would show that this is not some, subset of 100 people only that believe this, is that when Time magazine decided to do a cover story on this, they hired engineers and scientists to do a voice analysis on Paul McCartney's voice between two songs, one from 1965, which is Yesterday, which is on the Help album, and one from 1968, which is Lady Madonna, which was actually a single but also put on a Magical Mystery Tour. And what the scientists found doing a voice analysis is that the voice is of a different person.
What about if somebody were to say, well, this is between 1965 and 1968. He's aged 4 years, and he's probably done some drinking and smoking, and maybe he's just aged. Did anybody bring that up as a possibility?
I was not there at the time, so they must have, because, again, these were not crackpot scientists. They were hired by Time magazine, people that, for a living, study voice, do analyses. So, took all that into consideration.
So now, this is an urban legend that has been around for as long as the Beatles have been around, and it's never been resolved one way or the other. What is it about this story that is still attracting you to it all these years later?
Wow, that's a really good question. When I first began to hear of this story, I first actually picked up this story by picking up a book at a bookstore called The Walrus Was Paul, and and I'm a huge Beatles fan. Obviously, they're a well-known band. I love their music. And I'd never heard of this book, you know, and prided myself on really knowing as much as I could about the Beatles, but never heard about the Death Clues. I pick up this book all about the Death Clues. Oh, what an interesting little strange story. But the more I found out about it, and the more clues I found, the more I talked to people, there are just so many clues that I became 100% convinced that this was true. What still attracts me to it today is the fact that this is one of the greatest hoaxes that has ever been put on the human race. The fact that Paul McCartney, who everybody says is Paul McCartney, is actually not Paul McCartney.
Now, I've seen who claims to be Paul McCartney in concert a couple times, and what you're telling me is that person that I saw play at Coachella in 2008 and in San Jose in 2005, that was not Paul McCartney at all.
Correct. That is William Campbell. William Campbell won the Paul McCartney Lookalike Contest in 1966 and then disappeared from the face of this earth. The winner of the Paul McCartney Lookalike Contest, what did they win? They got their picture inside the White Album. So if you pull out the poster of the White Album, there is a picture of who they say is Paul McCartney, but a gentleman looks like Paul McCartney with greased black hair, glasses, a mustache. That is William Campbell. Now you have to remember that the Beatles were not, because everybody says, well, how could they replace them? They were touring, they were not touring. In 1966, when he passed away, they were recording songs for Sgt. Pepper's, for the Sgt. Pepper's album. Sorry about that. From that point on, remember, they did not tour at all. Their last concert was the rooftop concert in 1969 on the Abbey Road, for the Abbey Road album and at Apple Records. So basically, he had 4 years to tune his voice, to learn how to play, and to be left-handed, because William Campbell is not left-handed. In fact, there's a clue in Let It Be Naked. Let It Be Naked, which is a re-release, correct, of Let It Be.
I love it.
The fake Paul McCartney playing a guitar right-handed, and underneath it says, as nature intended. Now, what does that mean? Is that a Beatles lyric? It is not. As nature intended. Of course, he's right-handed. As nature intended, he was right-handed. So he had every chance to jump into the Beatles, who had already recorded most of the songs for Sgt. Pepper's and for Magical Mystery Tour, their next two albums, by November 9th, 1966, to become Paul McCartney. Because, again, they never toured again.
And the general consensus is the Beatles were totally in on it, and they indeed, in fact, personally left clues for listeners to suss out the fact that, indeed, Paul had died. Why do you think the Beatles would decide to put a Paul fake in there as opposed to allowing Paul to die and basically finding a replacement?
I think we live in an age that is very hard to compare. In 1960, the Beatles were the biggest thing, for lack of a better term, not band, not people, the biggest thing on the planet. It would be very hard to replace, the cute Beatle, the one that everybody loved. They were recording songs for an album that changed the history of music as we know it, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. And they were convinced that to continue as the Beatles without the main, or one of the main members, would be basically impossible. So I think they were probably coerced or decided to together, but, Epstein, their manager, definitely helped them out in this decision to continue on as they did and to continue to be the biggest band in the history of music and probably the world.
I mean, I do kind of understand where, say the band was in that tight of a situation and they had to figure out what to do really quickly. I don't see why that wouldn't be an option. I mean, yeah, it's a little bit of a shocking idea at first, but I'm sure the more you sit with it and the more you kind of let it sink in, it's almost like, well, shit, this might be something we can get away with if we pull it off the right way.
Exactly. And I think, one of the reasons that the clues exist is because they felt bad about what they were doing and wanted to let their fans know. But the clues, like I said, continue to this day. I mean, there are clues in solo albums, there are clues in re-releases, so on and so forth. So what's interesting about this story really is, some people, you can debate what the clues mean, but the clues exist. You can say, well, the clues prove that he's dead, or, the other side of that coin is the clues prove that, they were just having a good time and trying to fool everybody and have fun with everybody. But you cannot deny that these clues exist since 1966.
Can you tell me in more detail about the supposed way in which Paul did die? You said it was a car accident?
He died November 9th, 1966, which was a Wednesday, decapitated in a car accident. They were recording songs for the Sgt. Pepper's album, got into an argument, he left angrily, and got into a car accident.
And now, so you're saying that Sgt. Pepper's would be half of the original McCartney, the dead McCartney, and half, because they had to finish the record, obviously.
Well, they did have to finish the record. Most of the record and most of the songs for Magical Mystery Tour were all recorded at the same time. Both those albums were very close to being done. So most of the vocals were already done. Maybe John or George would have picked up some of the bass lines, but mostly those albums were done.
So they really didn't have to find anybody new until the White album, rather.
Correct.
Fascinating. So now you've grown up with this story, and it's obviously kind of hooked you in. What is it that you hope to accomplish in putting this TruthFunders project together? It's a documentary that you're looking to release, yes?
It is indeed a documentary. It's a documentary that I've been trying to make since 1999 when I was in film school. And what I'm trying to do is really to get this story out there for two reasons. First of all, I am convinced that this is true, and I would like the truth to be out there. Whether other people are convinced or not, what is interesting is if you are just a Beatles fan, I think it's an interesting story to hear about this very unique aspect of a very unique band. And there's a lot of interesting stories about this band, but something that is very unique about them. And to learn more about it and to get people excited. Again, you can have your own interpretation of what the clues mean. I know I think that I know what they mean. Other people have different interpretations.
Dude, since 1999, that's a long time to have been working on one project.
It is. I worked on it on film school, pitched it. You have to be picked to do certain films. So I pitched it, perhaps, with a bad choice. I tried to implicate the teachers that were picking the project and say, if you don't pick this, you are continuing this conspiracy. You don't want me to get the truth out. They did not like that. And then I did form my own production company, worked for a couple of years. We did have some investors and began to work on this project, but unfortunately we lost most of our investments through, unfortunately, what happened with the economy. So it's been a project that's been with me for a very long time.
So how much research and footage and so forth have you gathered thus far? Like, what is it you have finished, and what is it you're looking to finish by trying to get this last kind of bump done through TruthFunders?
I have all the clues. I have all the information. I have interviews with certain authors. There's only 3 authors that have written about this, and I've interviewed 2 of them already. I've had cease and desist letters from Apple and EMI and Capitol. Capitol Records is the U.S. company that represents Apple in the United States.
What have they sent you cease and desist letters for?
To use Beatles songs and photos and parts of the movies, so forth.
Interesting. That's definitely, look, if anything, just the fact that you're getting cease and desist letters before you've even really started on this thing, it should be a red flag. You might be onto something here, is what I'm saying.
I believe I am, yes indeed.
So now, what kind of rewards are you offering for those who donate to your project, be it $1 or a few bucks or $100, or, you got some interesting stuff lined up?
We do indeed have some interesting stuff lined up. So I've spoken about a couple. For the people that donate $100, we will send them a copy of the original article in the Michigan Daily News. I have that paper that launched this story nationally. For the people that donate $50, we will send them a list of all the clues that exist in a collection of Beatles oldies, which was the first album to have clues, all the way through Abbey Road. For the people that donate $250, which is a fair amount of money, they will get something that is prized for Beatles fan and is very hard to find. F. Lee Bailey, the famous lawyer who we all know from the O.J. Simpson trial, again, was hired in 1969 by RKO to do a mock trial, and it was put on ABC in New York on November 9th, 1969. Well, ABC, that is the only material, the only film that they cannot account for. They don't know what happened to that piece of film. They don't know where that canister is. So it has been lost forever. Nobody can ever see it again. However, recording was done, an audio recording was done, and I have a copy of that audio recording. So for $250, I will make a copy of that CD, and they can hear the mock trial where Fred LeBour is interviewed, testifies about the Beatles' death clues.
That's a really good reward, actually. I'd be interested in hearing that myself. Dang.
It's a really interesting CD. It really is cool.
In total, at least so far that you've been able to uncover, about how many clues would you say there are from top to bottom? From the Beatles records all the way through Wings, solo, everything else. What would you say the number?
There are hundreds. I can't give you a specific to come out. There are absolutely hundreds of clues.
Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. Are there any clues that you have uncovered yourself that have not been previously known of, at least to the best of your knowledge?
I'm absolutely happy that you asked me that question. There actually is one where, to me, it was really that one aha moment that I knew I was on the right path. So as I began to do this work, I began to be known in the Northern California as the Beatles experts on these specific clues, and I was invited to give a speech at UC Santa Cruz, which is University of California, Santa Cruz, the university here south of San Francisco, to give a speech. And so I was talking about the clues and showing one of the major clues is from the movie Magical Mystery Tour when they're playing I Am the Walrus. It is the band out in the field. Paul is standing next to a pair of bloody shoes. That's the clue in itself that I won't explain. But on Ringo's drum skin, it says, "Love the 3 Beatles," which is strange. There are 4 Beatles, correct? You usually love all 4.
No, that's strange.
You only love 3. Anyway, that is on the movie Magical Mystery Tour when it came out and was televised. I showed this on TV, and I also had behind me a poster. The Beatles released the One album, which was all their number 1 hits, their greatest hits, basically, and released a poster with it called Through the Years, which has a picture of all their album covers. And the main 5 photos in the middle of this poster are the famous 4 photos from the White Album, the pull-out photos that you can have. And in the middle of this is the drum skin for Magical Mystery Tour. And what does it say? It says, "Love the Beatles. The 3 has been erased." Now, I have this poster. I'm not making this up. And I have this video of Magical Mystery Tour. I did not create that also. And I can show you that one says "Love the 3 Beatles" and that one says "Love the Beatles." Because Capitol, Apple, and EMI are slowly erasing these clues as they're re-releasing everything and remastering everything because they don't want this story to come out. And so when I saw this, I was dumbfounded. The audience was very excited, but I could not believe that I had just found this clue that I had not even paid attention to, which I should have, right in front of everybody.
Yeah, usually the biggest clues are the ones that are right under your nose, honestly.
Yeah, that one was.
Well, awesome, man. Obviously, this is a passion project for you in every way possible. I mean, nobody starts something almost 20 years ago and is still working on it that far down the line unless they truly love it and they truly have genuine, strong commitment to getting the truth out there. And I think it's really awesome that you're continuing to push ahead. And hopefully, TruthFunders.com will give you that last little bit that you need in order to get this out there and to get it out to the world. Because, honestly, this is a story that has not been discussed in mass media in years and years and years and years. I know that there's nobody probably over the age of 30 that is really too familiar with this story anymore, which is a shame because it is one of the great mysteries in rock and pop music history.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Art. Thank you so much. We definitely hope that it'll get the funding it needs and be able to get it out there.
So, again, go to truthfunders.com. You can see Lauren's project up there now. Lauren, is there anywhere else that you want to drive people to follow you or the project via social media or anything like that?
You know, I think Truth Funders right now is going to be the best one.
Okay, so truthfunders.com, find Lauren's project. And Lauren, thanks again for joining me, man. I really appreciate the conversation, and I can't wait to see how this thing works out.
Hopefully your audience will think the same thing.
Actually, I do have one more question for you. Has John, Ringo, or George, at least, you know, Ringo's still alive, but those 3, have any of them been approached about this in interviews after the fact throughout the years? Have they been asked about this, and what were their answers?
They have not been asked about it, even though they have put clues in their music themselves. But what's interesting is Paul, well, the fake Paul, has been asked about it, and every time he has, that piece of video, that article, anything has disappeared. A really interesting one is you remember Chris Farley, the comedian Chris Farley, who was on Saturday Night Live?
Of course.
And one of the skits he used to do was a Chris Farley show. And he was the host of the Chris Farley show, but he was basically, his whole skit was that he was just very nervous about it and didn't know what to ask and everything. I'm not sure if you would call that or if your audience does.
I certainly do.
Paul McCartney was on the Chris Farley show. And the last question Chris asked him is, hey, Paul, remember when you were dead? And Paul McCartney's face is incredible. It just drops, and he goes, no. And I have a transcript of the interview. You know, just basically really a written transcript of that skit from this Chris Farley show. If you buy the best of Chris Farley, you know, the video compilation of the best of Chris Farley, that interview is in there. The only question that is missing is that question.
Oh, really? They dropped it from the DVD entirely, huh?
Correct.
Wow, that's interesting.
Why why? You know, of course you can say, oh, well, it just wasn't funny. But that's the whole point of this story is there's so many whys that at some point the whys must add up to something.
Yeah, and I mean, eventually, like, somebody is going to be trying to erase this stuff for some reason or another, be it Capitol Records or whoever the media outlet in charge is. I didn't know that. That's incredibly fascinating. So just another thing to leave you, the listener, thinking about what exactly might be going on here, and a good reason to go check out Lauren's project. All right, Lauren, thanks so much again for your time, man, and I look forward to donating myself to your project because I would love to see this documentary come out as soon as possible.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Art.
All right. Thanks, man. What an amazing interview, and totally a dude that just knows his stuff, obviously. I mean, if there's anyone I've ever spoken to who clearly knows their Beatles history, Lauren is the man. And how about that Saturday Night Live bit? I mean, stacks and stacks and stacks of evidence that go to show it's just quite possible that Paul really may be dead and just be some imposter sitting in his place. I mean, to me, I guess it doesn't really matter either way because the times I've seen Paul, it's been Paul, and that's all I really care about. Hey, I wanted to direct you towards a couple different links that I think might be of interest for you, links and apps. If you're into astrology, which I'm sure as a listener to this podcast, you probably are at least intrigued, to say the least, there are two very solid astrology websites / apps that you really do need to download. They're not sponsors. I use them on a daily basis, and they're just dead on all the time, and I wanted to provide a recommendation for you. Astralis is the first one, Astrolis. They have an app, daily astrological readings, tarot readings, all sorts of stuff. Check out that app. They are phenomenal, always dead on, and Astrology Zone as well. If you go to astrologyzone.com, two very solid, reputable astrology websites that just, I mean, for me, have rung true every single time. Also, I want to remind you to be spreading the word of Truth Funders. You know, there's a lot of message boards out there. Above Top Secret is one that comes to mind, for example. These are the types of places that we need to be posting about Truth Funders to and getting the word out there. And this is all a community effort. I mean, I'm doing my part. You do your part by donating, help spread the word. Every and anything we can do to help get the Truth Funders name out there right now, we need to be doing. Also, you should be following us on social media at Truth Funders on Instagram and Twitter, or at facebook.com/truthfunders. And then always going to truthfunders.com to check out the latest projects that are up there. There's some really cool ones right now. Thank you so much for tuning in to Truth Funders. It is a thrill for me to be sitting here doing this for you each and every week. And if you would like to get in touch with me, you can find me on Twitter at Arthur H. Webb. That's ARTHURHWEBB. That's on Twitter and Instagram. Or you can follow Truth Funders on Instagram at Truth Funders, just like I said a moment ago. Twitter, same, facebook.com/truthfunders. Please send any and all correspondence. I respond to every single email that comes in. If you're going to take the time to write me, I absolutely will take the time to get back to you. Podcast at truthfunders.com. I think that's all I've got for this week. So until